where they had last year, where they had a collaboration with the University of Wuhan, where the whole thing started. And one of the faculty members climate change effects, and so on and so on, so forth. They have to change because of the realities, whether it is publications, student submissions, examinations. It's a world over thing. UK and US are looking for solutions. We're not talking about productive researchers, efficient teachers. So policies and rules and institutions under the university leadership have to drastically change as well. No, it's not enough to be technical and tech savvy and to learn new skills, but it has much more than just being able to, like me, learn how to use the Zoom or Google Meet. The leadership, however, cannot work alone. It has to be an effective and a futuristic leader who runs the university, and effective leadership elements and including the formation of executive teams with balance and agility, and also good governance. Publications also. The priority of publications have changed. Is it the number? No, nobody cares about the number. They're more interested in what is this going to do to help the COVID situation. Whether it is social, environmental, health, physiological, etc., 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 like Dr. Hassan's research, that it is even genetics is being studied from the point of view of COVID. So, research emphasis has changed. We do not need the number, you know, 200 publications, 400 publications, or n number of publications to be a professor. You have to make sure that your publications and the university's publications have an impact and are seriously applied in the real life situations. And is faculty important? Yes, faculty is still important. But faculty projects are not just, as I said before, on publications, but also on the applications across the cultures and across the values which are changing. Then I've seen universities in the whole mushroom, but more than that, they grew in number and grew in not just number, but the buildings. Absolutely amazing the number of buildings that are coming up every day. And the more, and I agree with this point of view, that the institutions will prosper when they're able to remain resilient and sustain contribution through these tough and uncertain moments. Nobody knows. The first wave, the second wave, the third wave, and now the fourth wave of COVID. Who knows? So institutional resilience is, of course, a much more diffuse target than the bibliometric output like publications. But it is more important for the institution to sustain itself. Huge buildings, huge auditoriums, huge libraries, large number of books. And to what end? It has shown us for the last 2 years, these aggregates of institutions are lying vacant. So perhaps COVID has taught us another lesson. Human resource, not brick and walls. And then the teaching and learning, the decisions have to be made. First it was the lecture. You know, teacher goes in, gives a lecture, comes out, all satisfied, I've delivered. But now it is changed. Is it going to be a blended format? Is it going to be a hybrid format? Is it going to be a virtual format? Is it how the examinations are going to be conducted? Online? What about cheating? And so there are decisions that have to be taken, and of course, that has also shaken the way that we teach. Lecturing has been reshaped by this pandemic, and it has enforced us on an adaptation that has prompted us to reflect on how strange lecturing is. Even I mean, we have never gone out of that mode to think about it. Now we know it was a redundant kind of a teaching, lecturing, and standing before 100, 200, 300 students and delivering and then coming out satisfied that I have delivered. No. Then it was because we can do the same teaching online or through our presentations. Teaching and learning, of course, have also changed the access and flexibility to teaching and learning materials. But they need strong IT and computer skills. And of course, in Pakistan, IT connectivity and electricity. People using PowerPoint, people using images. Of course, it is effective. But why would an audience sit and look at it when they can just go and read it somewhere else? So, mechanical changes have been made. But more than that,
वो भी तो थोड़ी होगी
we have seen changes in the teaching,
बट ये काम बड़ा
the
फिट करती
learning lifestyles. And now
है
we have talked about the administration, we talked about the building, we have talked about the teaching material. Now what about the administrators? In the administrators, we see that also the administrative staff wants off. We can say that, yeah, there are flexible and sustainable ways of working. You don't have to be here in our offices 9 to 5 every day. So, we have certainly given everybody some material to think. The future. Are campuses really safe? Multiple COVID variants are coming in spite of vaccination, and they're more lethal. Are the masks new normal? What about the courses that require practicums, hospitals, and internship training? What about the research in the labs, in the field? Are they safe? I don't think so. So we have to rethink not just courses and teaching, but also the strict regulatory accreditation bodies. There must be flexibility within the system. The system had become too rigid. So we have to, I know I'm running short of time, but I would like to just take my last slide. We are now in what I want. That was my slide. I had something. Well, I guess what I wanted to say that COVID has created a centrifugal evolution that was needed, and technology has embraced it. And universities are left with empty halls, empty offices, while classes and teaching thrives online. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. Certainly, COVID has changed and the evolution has happened, and we have just to learn what to do with our huge buildings that are lying. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Manju. It was a very enlightening talk and informative words, especially on the aspects and prospects of the educational system during the COVID-19. So thank you for that. And it gives me immense honor to invite our next speaker, Professor Dr. Dilip Kaushal, Vice Chancellor, Education University, Lahore, ex-Vice Chancellor, UVAS, Lahore. Dr. Kaushal has been a very dynamic Vice Chancellor with years into education, having in-depth wisdom on promoting infrastructure that benefits the masses and offer trainings in very vast spectrum of fields. And it will be very enlightening to hear about and understand about learning in times of COVID-19 from sir. So, sir, the forum is yours to speak.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much. First of all, I will give the opportunity to audience, practitioners, professionals in this program event. I missed earlier presentations and was lucky to attend Professor Najma's presentation, which covered many things which I really wanted to discuss. But as a matter of fact, I will focusing on my topic. My perspective is more towards what's going on with the students, how the learning is in this situation. And I represent the university, which is nine campuses, and we have a campus in Miragazi Khan, Hyderabad, Bihari, Multan, Atak, and Faisalabad, and Lahore. And the first thing we faced was I'm not talking about we spent about 1.5 months and to how this to train our teachers that how they have to deliver and how with software and whatever that is a story and everybody has to face that. But the major issue I felt was from the student side, and that was the connectivity issue. I have students from GP, I have students from Honda, I have students from uh, uh, many backward areas. And the students, they don't have the gadgets, they don't have the laptops. In my university, we have students which are lower middle class students. We have one uh, good thing that our fee structure is very low, and we attract a lot of uh, students who are talented, who are there in the backward areas who cannot afford the expensive universities and education. And we also encourage students. We have hostels, and especially the students from far-flung areas that they should come and stay there in the hostels. And, and living in the hostels, for instance, if we have students coming from Quetta, from GB, and staying in Lahore, and staying in Lahore is already a learning, and it's already education. So already you learn, you build up your confidence, you learn a lot, and especially when you have diversity in the hostel, because you have students from different backgrounds, different regions of the country, that add a lot of value to the students in their living, in their behavior, in their learning. culture, learning about different areas. I still remember I got my BBM from Woodbury College, and at that time, and still they had the students from all areas of Pakistan. And we learned a lot, and now we have the relationship with our students, with our class fellows, and we go to their marriages and they come to us. And that is another thing which is very important part of learning, which is unfortunately affected very badly in this situation. So the cities based students which are background from cities, they have the access to internet, they have the access to gadgets and these things. Then even our faculty, initially we had to offer them facilities to buy the laptop. Everybody don't have the laptops. So while the student is sitting in a classroom, there's a lot of motivation, there's a lot of learning from each other, and there's a lot of influence of the teacher, and they can communicate well, and they can come to the students, come to their most director student affairs. The most important thing which missed during this system is the sports. I mean, all as Professor Nazima told, mentioned that all those gymnasiums and all those sports complex and grounds and everything was vacant. And in, while you are in the sports, while you are in competition, you learn a lot. That these things are very important for your personality development, for your uh, sportsmanship and learning, and then confidence building and team building and all these issues. And my university have in all the different disciplines of education and science and technology, languages, in education. But in all our disciplines, we have and other courses, four courses that is for how to be a good teacher. Even if you are doing botany, zoology, IT, English, Urdu, beside like more education courses. And this teaching practice courses and teaching practice is part of their training. The do training internship, which is mandatory for teaching practice. But these things were not available. The schools were allowed and the training. So I'm afraid that how long this disease situation will continue. As all of you know, the another variant is there, and cases are rising. And I don't know how far this system, or how far this universities will be. We can keep the universities open. So all these all these circumstances impacted badly on the learning. Uh, for instance, 2 years back, we established about 42 new labs, science labs. But those science labs are there, but it's not, you can hardly use there. We established computer labs, uh, uh, use libraries, and use infrastructures are there, but no access of the students. This is very much disturbing and depressing that our new graduates are lacking these things. We were able to find out softwares and mechanism of doing practicals online, from where they can do the chemistry, physics, practical, software basis, online basis. But practically, if you do the things in the lab, you develop a lot of confidence. And where the learning is altogether different as compared with the uh, things you are doing online, and online in a situation where you have a connectivity issue, where you have gadgets issue, where you have the last minute to learn from each other, to communicate, to uh, learn many things. But in this situation, uh, there has been a lot of challenge, and as Rizwan covered about the examination system. Last semester we had 3 months of campus online teaching, and 1 month we had the opportunity that students were on the campus, and attempts will be face to face, and they don't like that, but they were preferring online exams from their home, and because of the this phenomena of cheating and other things, they don't realize what is good for them, and we were hardly able to negotiate with them and make them realize that these exams are very important for those who have studied hard, and there should be a difference that we worked hard and then we were able to have their online exam but on campus only. And it was very hard for us to make them agree that okay, we will have online exam but we will be on campus exam. And last semester we were able to have some of their practicals conducted, but I strongly feel there's a lot of compromise on the quality. There's a lot of compromise on the learning, and especially the internship program and the research culture is altogether suffering, especially for the
Mr.
postgraduate.
Professor Teller, sorry to interrupt you, but we are running short of time. Request you to, if you can wind up.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, my bottom line is that it's not only the education, it's the learners, it's the students who will be the disadvantaged side, and we are doing all our efforts to uh, work in an environment where we can deliver online in a better situation, but unfortunately, the things are not in the favor of our learners. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Asha, for this enlightening address regarding the challenges that students and the administration faces, and how can we overcome those challenges. So thank you. And it is again a privilege for me to invite our next speaker, Professor Dr. Ruxana Kausar, Vice Chancellor, Government College, Women University, Sialkot, Ex-Director, Institute of Applied Psychology and Center for Clinical Psychology, Punjab University. With her decades in educational field trainings, research, versatile teaching methods, and higher level leadership at various institutes, it is enlightening to hear about the use of technology in teaching and learning in the wake of COVID 19. What are the challenges and the opportunities that arise? And Dr. Foster, the forum is yours to speak.
Thank you very much, Zaima. I was wondering if you can share the screen with me. Is it possible because I sent through my presentation? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank all the working members, my colleagues, and be proud to be part of this such a magnificent bunch of colleagues nationally and internationally. I think I have to consider time because आपने माशाल्लाह सब seniors जो हैं उनको काफी time दिया. I'm also on seniors, but they have covered most of it. So I'll just quickly move on to what we had experienced during the last 1.5 years, or rather 2 years during COVID. And I vividly remember that it was in March, I think 13 or 14 March, and there was this Higher Education Commission team visiting us, conducting interviews of students for SAS scholarship. And we heard that there is a lockdown going to be tomorrow, and we had to cover about 100 more students. And Noor Amna, who is at the panel, she was sitting next to me, and Chairman of Higher Education Commission called for a meeting. And we were really in a chaos what to do. So this is where we begin. We conducted our interviews disregarding the first day of lockdown because we thought that the needy students who have been called for interviews should be over with. We did that, but eventually, can I have the next slide, Saima? Can I have the next slide, please? Because I don't have control.
Dr. Basit, is this the slide that you want?
Can you have the next slide, please? This is our slide.
I am changing
So-
the next slides.
No. I think you have changed so many now.
Yes.
Okay. So I've already told you that COVID started and we were in a chaos, and there was HEC's meeting and they were talking about, and everybody, including another vice chancellor from Sialkot, we joined in and panic at each side, of course, side too, what to do. So we know that we are a developing country, though we are very much user of internet, but coming properly to use technology was a huge challenge. So we don't have proper internet accessibility, it seems so, but so many times still, I'm sitting in my office, which is situated in premises of jail because we were given land from there. I don't have signals. Most of my students who live in border area, they don't have any internet connectivity. So there was a huge challenge, but it's easier to say, but when practice, there was a huge challenge that how to move online. And there are so many challenges which we faced and still we are facing. And all my colleagues have highlighted those. Dr. Najma very comprehensively, Dr. Pasha has talked about students' perspective, but I would specifically confine myself to the internet connectivity and all those technological issues. How did we manage them, and what are the challenges still met? So the developed countries have e-learning solutions providers, but in Pakistan, like 6 months or 7 months, AGC kept on saying that we are negotiating with the service providers, even more for mobile phone users, so that they can come up with packages which are conventional and which are heavy enough so that they can get signals while they are sitting at their homes. And tell you the truth, whenever we used to have meetings, so many times we had interviews of the students for scholarship, they were sitting on the top roof, and somebody was sitting under the tree. So our university, for example, University of Education, Dr. Pasha has talked about, you have two vice chancellors from a public sector university where the students are coming from a very humble background and who may not be able to afford even the packages of internet. Then government policies for developing localized education technology had not been focused earlier, and only virtual university, and I can say maybe Allama Iqbal Open University. So we had actually segregated two types of learning. The universities, AGC has a different policy for face-to-face teaching and also for virtual learning, of course, for virtual university. Students' personal resources, as I already said, so it was very difficult for us to arrange from some money for the students who are unable to afford even to top up their mobile phones, and students who didn't have phones, so they had to borrow from their brothers or fathers or relatives so that or they can actually attend the lectures. Next slide, please. coronavirus spread in March, Education Department and University found themselves completely unprepared and to move online. Most of them, of course, I'm not talking about all of those. Maybe private universities or the other universities were much better professional degree awarding universities, but generally speaking, most of the universities had issues. And this is why I'm saying it because we had been attending a series of meetings from higher education platform, and the vice chancellor had been sharing their experience on those platforms. Educational institutions have faced closure due to terrorist attacks and political unrest. We have seen that this is for the first time the universities continued functioning despite this disruption. Earlier, when it used to happen, the terrorist attacks of the University of Mandela, with the political unrest, had we had thought of this solution, we didn't have to close the universities. Also, universities had segregated face-to-face teaching and learning. As Dr. Najma said, that we have to be flexible in our policies. Maybe we have to think of having some mixture of offering some courses online so that universities, God forbid, the situation continues, or maybe if it's over, some next situation arises, so we should be able to handle this situation. So we should continue having this facility and try to move on. And finally, we have to actually build upon on using technology and our resources. Next, please. Now, worldwide, we have seen that the technology has been rapidly not only advanced, but use has been increased. Not only with common users, but also in educational institutions. People had smartphones, tablets, computer system, laptops. Yes, we had it, but we not every student had laptop. I earlier told you that even students didn't have smartphone, so most of them some had to borrow from here and there or arrange for those. So numerous social media network sites we are very familiar with, and now we have become even more familiar. High-speed internet connectivity like 4Gs and 5Gs connectivity is available in other countries, but in Pakistan still we are lagging behind. Advanced artificial intelligence-based learning management systems available everywhere, not in Pakistan. We had been struggling. For example, our university had LMS learning management system, but considering it's a new university, we were unable to have examination system in place. And when we had a segregated one, we found out lots of issues with it. So we are still piloting it. Online learning courses such as Coursera, Udemy, Linda, edX, MOOCs, these are available all over the world. And now with AGC's cooperation, Coursera is offering courses free of cost to the institution. So hopefully we will continue. And they have earned huge amount of money, and they're continuing earning. We anticipated that they are going to move on to these courses, and we may think and learn from this. Next, please. Now, the challenges which we faced are internet accessibility in remote areas. We have to open the hostels for students. And tell you the truth, we didn't open the hostels straight away because our hostels were taken as a quarantine centers. So we actually could not offer any help to those students. So what we did was sending them notes on WhatsApp. We had WhatsApp groups. We had email, attachments sent to the students. We were even sending them on their postal addresses, or we were trying to ask the universities or schools that host them in nearby areas or the institutions. It was hard, very hard for students as well as for teachers. And converting straight away, of course, teachers were not used to either. So converting their teaching mode from face to face to online, preparing their lecture notes, putting them online on LMS, using LMS, it was a hard task. So lack of expertise, adoption and social acceptance of the new. So proud that the teachers, staff, we have very few IT staff, but they work day and night to help students to create, generate their IDs generates IDs, teachers' IDs, admin IDs, having monitoring system, and then us giving training to the students how to connect to LMS and then to use this MS Team because we are officially using MS Team. Training teachers, so everything was going so day and night kind of training and everything was done that we were online within 2 weeks time. So that was very minimum time which one would take. So we did it. Then please move on. Next, please. Um, सबसे बड़ा challenge जो डॉक्टर साहब ने भी बात किया that was attitude and behavioral change, both positive and negative. Positive in a manner, people were facilitative. Our teams were very, our IT team was very very facilitative. Our teachers were very cooperative. Our students were very willing. But eventually, um, out of the blue, there was this was anger, resentment, all this negativity, pessimism when it came to examinations. So teachers, students, teachers were feeling very taxed. For example, we had higher education department faculty members who never touched the computer. So they were feeling it very daunting to use technology to give lectures. So we had to provide them assistants who could actually help them. They used to come to the university. We had provided them systems, but they were there sitting and just delivering lectures. Um, and then their agitated behavior, anxiety, feeling of uncertainty. Of course, this was an unpredictable situation, still it is. And how to cope with this? Teachers, students had become used to, um, I don't know what kind of routine I should say, but when it came to examination, they were agitating and it became a mob behavior. So everyone was, even I was receiving n number of emails which choked my personal email as well as my official email, and they were with the name of voice. And I had to respond to them, look, you are now my student, please ask my student to write to me. And so she can write to me. I am her vice chancellor. But all the boys were writing the same. So it was a mob behavior who was actually monitoring them from distance. Then there is also what we have experienced ourselves, screen and virtual fatigue. For instance, right now we are sitting in different time zones. Similarly, we have meetings now. For somebody it's night, somebody is early morning. But you have to attend them and you have to participate in them. Similarly, so many people who are not used to screen, they also feel fatigued and feel unhappy about it. Next, please. Having said all these challenges, this has also provided us opportunities. Um, as Dr. Najma was saying that we were not using technology and we were not, of course, still I find it difficult. But then everybody was of it. We know how to use Google Meet, how to use Zoom, how to upload our lecture, how to um, carry out assessments, so provision and use of smart gadgets like smartphones, tablets, everything was like had become the necessity, and we had no choice but to do that. And had we had time, there won't be a right time. So COVID has, in disguise, has provided us this opportunity to equip ourselves with all these um, expertise which is required for teaching and learning online. Then development of e-learning platforms, LMS. For instance, our university was in very preliminary stages, but our team worked very hard to make it more functional within 2 weeks' time. Use of e-learning platforms. Now, every now and then, I keep on receiving list of courses, and teachers get registered to those. Whoever find it interesting. So all these platforms are helping us to have international kind of teaching and learning experience, enhance teachers and administration's digital skill sets, which they were afraid of or they had phobia or fear. They have been able to overcome because it's kind of a flooding technique which we have used with it. Then enhance the students' learning techniques skills too. Um, Students were much better in a way because they were already used to using social media and all these platforms. So they didn't find it difficult. However, what they found it difficult coming back to campus and sitting in exams in face-to-face situations. And virtual based interactive learning was difficult for us, but we had to. I must admit that we had to put in our mechanism to QEC, which was monitoring classes, because student had a platform to complain that whether the class is happening or not. Then we had to put up some observers along with the teachers so who could randomly check in whether the classes are happening or not. Next, please. Hybrid mode of teaching and learning has become now need, and AGC is thinking about it, that as it's going to continue, so they are making some policy about online teaching and learning. It has become easier to reach out and engage international academicians, researchers, and other professionals. For instance, it used to be very hectic to bring international speakers at the platform, the Pakistani universities. It has become so easier. You are on Facebook and you ask somebody and they will be willing to do that. So we started international speaker series, um, including speakers from UK, USA, um, Indonesia, Malaysia. So they are very willing to actually come on the platforms and give their talks or trainings. Establishment of I must acknowledge for AGC's initiative of establishing psychosocial centers, um, which are considering conducting series. And from that platform, we have established one. So from that platform, we have conducted a series of workshops engaging national and international experts in the field. And I would appreciate my colleagues here to spare some time to deliver their maybe talk or lecture or a workshop, small workshop, for either students or teachers to share their stresses and worries. So I will be very happy to invite you. Then funding provided by AGC for upgrading required infrastructure in the universities. They also provided some money for Coursera where students can get registered, teachers can get registered. They also provided money for psychosocial centers. And also there was some amount for students who are unable to afford connectivity or internet facility. Then of course, सबसे बड़ी opportunity which I find is social support network. So it has become very easier to hold meetings. It has become very easier to share ideas, and that's very important, and that's been very important in relieving stress across the world. Next, please. I would just conclude that COVID-19 has posed lots of challenges, but it has also, because it was of course uncertain and unpredictable situation, universities were required to abruptly shift things, have been able to do that. At the same time, it has offered numerous opportunities, skillfully utilize technology for teaching and learning, conducting meetings, workshops, webinar, conferences. So many international conferences are being held without any expenses. So it has saved lots of finances too. It has connected academicians, students with international hybrid mode of teaching and learning has to continue and has become a reality. And here I would like to say that the stress, anxiety, and every psychological impact which I have heard this, the first speaker speaking, it is really there. And we offered psychological services for community as well as students. People were hesitant, of course, because this is a small town and people don't know what is use of it. But here comes the awareness among them. So it is very important that we move on towards prevention. We move on choosing more technology, but as Dr. Sangat Pasha said, that face-to-face interaction is also important. Students, community, building community, and also using these direct rate of student they are on government, so I'm sure they had been using these platforms, but it's not like having actual face-to-face activities. So I hope and pray that the situation gets better, and you all of you stay well. Thank you very much for providing me this opportunity. I wish to thank Dr. Nashi and everybody sitting there, Zaima and Aisha, and all the organizers from the platform. Thank you very much for providing this.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Kosa. It was really wonderful to hear from you after some time. And I'm pleased to share that I have been a part of that prestigious department where you remained director for years. Many thanks for accepting our invitation for this event. Assalamu alaikum all. My name is Aisha Malik. I am working as a research associate and in the health psychologist at Pakistan Institute of Living and Learning, and I welcome you on behalf of RLMC and Bill 47. So, continuing our event towards the taking towards the next step, I would like to invite some other facilitators as we have listened to brilliant talks on this very important issue and a very important topic. So, the next speaker is very renowned in the field of hypnotherapy. I guess almost every student of Punjab, even I would say that every person of Pakistan in the field of psychology could know him for his outstanding contribution in the field of hypnotherapy. None other than Mr. Max Babri. He is Director Healing Center and certified hypnotherapist and a clinical psychologist. Welcome, Mr. Babri. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Aisha. I hope everybody could hear me. I am currently in Sweden, and I understand and I know that the topic is actually effect of COVID-19 on a university education system. And despite that, I had actually suggested a very unusual topic, and the topic is the meaning and purpose in life. And that will surprise people, but that's what I wanted to do. But before I get on with my 10-minute talk, I want to thank the Rashid Latif Medical Complex Counseling and Wellness Center, and also your institute, Pakistan Institute of Living and Learning. And thank you very much. And also, before you, Zaima also did a great job moderation and facilitation. So I think but getting that out of the way, I could really then get on with what I want to say. I think I would like to ask a question generally to everybody to make it a little more interactive and wake up everybody whose name I can see, but many of us may be doing something else. But in any case, I just want the question is really the question is, and it is a rhetorical question because a rhetorical question means that questions don't really have an answer, but it allows us to ponder and think for a while. So my question is, why are we here? Definitely, if you like, I mean, I always do interactive things. You're most welcome to switch on your microphones and have a little chat and give us suggestions. And of course, Aisha is a great moderator, and if everybody is talking at the same time, I'm sure Aisha will interrupt. But let me have one or two or three or four ideas about why are we here. And you want to put it, if you guys want to put it in the chat box, that's fine.
Okay, we are here, Max, it's Roxana. We are here to share our experience of last 1.5 years and see how to move on and how to improve on those.
Absolutely. And Roxana, by the way, great presentation on connectivity and student situation. And once again, congratulations and being the Vice Chancellor at Sialkot. We haven't been able to meet that. But anyway, great answer. Anybody else who wants to venture for an answer to this? Saima from Singapore may want to say something, but Saima, first you have to switch on your microphone.
Assalamu alaikum, sirs. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I know why I'm here. I am here to understand what's going on back home. I am here to understand what is my purpose in this and what is it that I can contribute. And it's absolutely wonderful hearing itni challenging environment mein our seniors, Dr. Najma, Dr. Roxana, how people have stepped up. It's incredible. And people are complaining in first world Singapore, it's so difficult. And here you guys are real life heroes. So I'm here to learn. Thank you for putting me in the spot.
Well, why not? I mean, that's what one does with friends. And I see Dr. Usman Sutiana, that's what Dr. Usman Sutiana is here. So I'll urge him to switch on his microphone, and instead of us chatting on the chat box, we can do it directly. Dr. Sutiana, why are we here?
Alaikum, sir. So I think it's just a biological occurrence. We are here not by our choice, and probably our parents were having some good fun, and we just kind of came with plan or no plan. But since the consciousness is here, and we just wake up, and once we are out of the society's shackle, we try to make meaning out of it, because we have to put some story, that kind of thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anybody else who wants to venture? Thank you very much, Dr. Usman. Anybody else who wants to venture and explain why we are here? But the thing is, whatever you guys say is absolutely correct. There is no right or wrong answer, so to say. There's certainly no wrong answer. Every answer is the right answer, and it becomes absolutely correct answer if we also add the word "I think" before we answer, because then absolutely it is unconditionally accepted and correct answer. Uh, uh, and anybody else? And then I will want to give you my point of view on what I think. Okay, I guess there is no more question coming. There's something in the chat. Let's look at the chat. आयशा आप चैट देख रही हैं ना साथ साथ? अगर चैट में कोई नजर आता है आपको तो आप मुझे वो कर दीजिएगा. सर मैं चैट नहीं देखता because I get distracted. So you are the moderator. So you. Okay, I think the question was really rhetorical, and this Usman Jana and Saima and Dr. Kausar was absolutely spot on. But I would also like to say I was really asking why are we here in this world? So we create a little larger, a little more open-ended question to our existence and our being. And I know the topic still remains COVID-19 and the university education system. And I also know that I have used maybe already half of my time, but I will quickly go and explain what I think. And since I've used the word I think, I'm sure that I can't be challenged. I can be challenged, but I can't be set wrong because I'm entitled to my thinking. And this is what I want to communicate to everybody, that sometimes the world that we look at, we begin to think that we define the world. No, it is the world we look at, and if we say at the world that this is how I look at the world, many of our problems will actually go away, and many of our disagreements will go away. And I think we are in this world, in my personal opinion, in the short time that I have, is to be a source of happiness and joy for fellow human beings. And also look at who else is a stakeholder in the life that I live. I'm born one day and I will go away another day, and it might be 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 or whatever number of days as we go older, because I'm going to 70 soon. So as we grow older, we tend to think that maybe the life is longer and longer and longer, but that's okay to think like that. But nevertheless, in the scheme of things, whatever life we have is actually very infinital, means very small and with very little significance. Yes, it is of very little significance. What we do, the way we behave, the way we interact with people is of tremendous significance. And I'm also reminded, I'm also luckily one of those people who have learned from Dr. Ajmal, and Dr. Iftaharan mentioned Dr. Ajmal and also mentioned Gestalt and also mentioned sensibility training and also mentioned collective consciousness of Jung. And of course, these are some of the things which has also influenced me. So we actually live beyond ourselves. And when we are talking about stakeholders, I was also talking about the birds. I was also talking about the nature. I was also talking about fellow human beings. I was also talking about Mother Earth. I was also talking about the environment we live in. And it's also talking about the interactions that we have with each other. And I think many people think that COVID brought a lot of challenges, but I think it also brought us to understand the purpose and meaning of life is something bigger than just trying to get a great job and make a lot of money and be the agents of all the businesses that exist around us. All the universities was created and now we talk about the education system. All the universities was created, unfortunately, in a tacit way, not to make people educated, but help them find great jobs and improve their earnings. So it was very, very materialistically informed. And of course, the universities was ungraded. If you do an MBA from XY, I don't want to take it. If XYZ university, your starting salary would be 70,000. If you do a MBA from a ABC university, your starting salary could be 90,000 rupees की बात हो रही है. I'm currently in Sweden, by the way. तो अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं कि if you go and study abroad, you come back and you get a banking job, maybe you can get 110,000, and so on and so forth. So education was monetized and said, this is what you can get. Never asked that education is being provided so that we are able to have knowledge and wisdom and experience and give something to people. So education became something that is supposed to take something from people, and unfortunately that purpose of education was very defeatist. And now we are beginning to recognize that I challenge everybody and ask everybody and urge everybody to think that who are the five most important persons in your life. And then I'll just take 2 or 3 more minutes and now my time is up soon. And Aisha, just bore me, don't get intimidated by an old man. Just tell me time management is the most important management in the world. And if you can't manage time, then you have not managed anything. And time belongs to people. And nobody has the right. It doesn't matter how big of a professor or how interesting the talk is to capitalize on somebody else's time. So please stop me when I am done and I am authorizing this. So I was quickly going to say, when we think of these five people, if you've thought about these five people in our mind, I can tell you that none of these five people that you have thought are most important in your life are anybody else than close family members. And if there are close family members and they are the most important people in our life, then the purpose of life must be to make these people happy, to make these people joyous. And these are the people who unfortunately are at the receiving end of all our frustrations, all our anger, all our disappointment, all our negativity, and we offload it onto them. So how can we be successful? So success for me then is, I wanted to define success also. Success for me is also that if people who are important for me, especially बच्ची और spouse की बात करें, पेरेंट्स की भी बात करें, वो भी बहुत important है बट स्पाउस बच्चों की बात कर रहे हैं तो अगर मेरे स्पाउस और मेरे बच्चे मेरी रिस्पेक्ट नहीं करते और अंदर से डरते हैं मुझसे बहुत ज्यादा खौफजदा हैं तो आई हैव लॉस्ट इट because the most important people don't respect me. Because and respect is not because मेरे बाल सफेद हो गए हैं या मेरे 4 PhDs हैं और मैं बहुत शॉर्ट साइकोथेरेपिस्ट हूँ और मैंने इतने साल क्लिनिकल साइकोलॉजी पढ़ाई नो respect comes from how I treat them. If I respect them, respect is something that we earn. So we must go and earn respect, not only of the closest people, but also respect of every stakeholder that's important in my life. Aisha, I still have time, can you? Okay.
Sir, you can take the one last minute.
Okay, I take one more. So more that's the success part. I want all of us to be successful, and we'll be successful if my wife, my child, my most important person in my life, whoever that person is, able to say, मकबूल बाबरी साहब, आप बाहर जा रहे हैं, अपनी बुनियाद को बदल लें, आपके जिस्म में से पसीने की बदबू आ रही है. और अगर वो नहीं कह सकते ये और डरते हैं और खौफजदा हैं, तो मैंने कोई रिस्पेक्ट नहीं अर्न. मुझसे वो खौफजदा है. जब प्यार होता है, मोहब्बत होती है, रिस्पेक्ट होती है, तो we can say anything to anyone. And most important learning that we get, whether it's university or at home, is the candid feedback that close people could give to us, and and to be, and as a result of that, we become better human beings. 30 seconds और अब एक तो ये बात और happiness क्या है? Happiness मेरे नजदीक ये है कि if my job, my profession, my source of income is connected to something that I love to do. So if my job and my profession is my hobby and my passion, and it also brings livelihood and it also improves the quality of life of people, then I'm very, very successful. The purpose in life is to be happy and successful. Success comes by earning respect, and happiness comes by making your job a job for yourself. Thank you very much. I hope Aisha I was in time.
Many thanks,
If
Mr.
there are any
Babri.
questions, I'll be happy to take.
And it's really very clear to listen to you. I wish we could have more time to listen to you, but I hope we will get more chance in future to hear from you. And thank you so much for highlighting the importance of